In cruise news today, I have 3 stories for you. The first one is about a cruise ship that has gotten the worst inspection score for the entire year. When we talk about cruises, a lot of us think of like maybe a 5-day, 7-day, possibly even 14-day. But I'm going to give you the scoop on some of the longest cruises out there. And I'm going to give you the scoop about one of the longest cruises. Could you really take a cruise for months on top of months? We're going to talk about it. And then I have 2 cruise news stories that take us over to Royal Caribbean. The first one is a change that Royal Caribbean has recently made for their drink package. And I think it's going to really make a lot of people very, very upset. And the second Royal Caribbean story, unfortunately, is about what's been called a brawl at their private island. All this and more, let's swan dive right into it. Hello everyone, it's Cynthia, your host. Welcome back to today's show. I have 4 cruise news stories for you today, and we're going to just jump right in and get started. And I'd love to hear your feedback on these. So our first story takes us over to Via V Residences. Maybe you remember this ship. It was the beleaguered ship that had been purchased and was going to be a residency, meaning people were going to purchase time to spend on this ship like for years, a 3-year contract, a 5-year contract. That's why it was called residencies, because people were going to live on this ship and it was going to circumnavigate the globe, right? So people went bonkers for this. They thought, oh, it was a great idea. And this was by no means cheap. Just think about how much a 7-day cruise costs. You're going to do this for, 3 years. So it was a very expensive endeavor. And many people sold everything they have, got rid of their homes, their cars, and paid the money for this ship. And then if you remember all of the stories that went through for Via V, they had so many delays, pushed it back, kept pushing it back. The people thought that they would never make it onto the ship. And finally, they were off. They finally got aboard the ship, and it was really cool to watch some of the people who were on the ship vlog their adventures, finally being on the residencies, what the rooms look like, what the food looks like. It was really kind of cool. Well, ships are inspected by the CDC, and Via V Residencies was recently inspected. They have gotten the worst inspection score of the year. The inspection took place on July 9th aboard the Odyssey. The total score was an 81. Now, back in my school days, at 81, you would have been, okay with that. That was a B, but not when it comes to ship inspections. In order for a ship to pass, they have to receive at least a score of an 86. And I have to say that it was noted that there were many other ships, unfortunately, that barely scraped by getting this 86 score, but Odyssey only received an 81. Here's some of the findings. The biggest issue focused on the potable water system. It said that the report indicated during water bunkering operations, the chlorine levels in the drinking water were consistently below what was required as a minimum, and that no corrective action had been taken. Also, there was a drain line from the water purification system. It seemed to be hardwired, piped into the gray water tank, which could, of course, cause cross-contamination. A greasy waffle iron was found stored with other utensils that were clean. Food was left at unsafe temperatures, and in particular, they said that there was cream left out at 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Other problems noted were poor maintenance, dirty overhead areas, standing water. Even the swimming pools had been cited for not having proper safety signs or no depth markers in the swimming pools. And then there was the presence of fruit flies in the pantry, and this is an indication of some kind of pest control issue. So we have to remind ourselves that the Odyssey, it's not a brand new ship. We're so used to all of these big, beautiful new ships being built, but the Odyssey is over 30 years old. It was purchased back in late 2023 and then converted and redone to be the Odyssey that it is today. So what will the ship do? Well, right now the Odyssey is out of US waters. This means it won't get re-inspected until it returns back into the US. But that doesn't stop the company from being required to fix all of the issues. The owners of the ship say that no problem, before this ship returns back to US waters, we're going to take care of everything. Even though it's over 30 years old and there's, issues with that design for, modern sailing, they're going to take care of the whole thing. And I mean, that's what they're going to have to do if they want to keep sailing. I would love to know your thoughts. What if you were one of the people aboard the Odyssey? You've spent all this money to circumnavigate the globe a couple of times, and you find out that your ship has failed inspection. What would you do? Anything? I don't know. This poor ship, it just has had so many problems. I mean, I really like the idea of being able to get on this cruise ship and go for years. I like it. We're cruisers. We enjoy cruising. But there has been so many issues. And of course, I'm thinking that one of the biggest ones is having a 30-year-old ship. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please do. Drop it down in the comments below. Our next cruise news story, it's about long cruises. Now, when I say, would you like to go on a long cruise? What pops into your mind? Are you thinking like maybe a 10-day, a 12-day, 14-day? How about even a 28-day cruise? I'm not talking about anything even remotely close to that. I'm talking about some of the longest cruises that are happening right now out on the 7 seas. Many cruisers are really looking for that long experience. Now, all of us are not able to do that, work obligations and family obligations, but there are many others who are able to do that. Maybe they're retirees or they are digital nomads. They can work from anywhere. They're looking for that extreme cruise experience. How about 107 days of cruising aboard the Queen Anne? In 2025, the new Cunard ship Queen Anne will embark on her maiden world voyage, which includes her first visit to Australia and New Zealand. Now, this 107-day journey starts with a transatlantic crossing before it sails over to destinations here in America, in Australia, in Asia, the Arabian Gulf, and then finally the Mediterranean. 107 days. Now, of course, these cruises go to some of the most beautiful places, maybe places that are definitely on the bucket list, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I'm thinking this would be an astounding opportunity. But how long is too long? Well, 107 days is nowhere close to the longest cruise that you would be able to take. Let me tell you about that cruise. Drum roll, please. That would be aboard the Oceania Vista, 197 days. Wow. That's the majority of the year, 197 days. Let me tell you where this cruise ship goes for 197 days. This 2026 World Odyssey voyage of Vista, well, it will circumnavigate the world, visiting over 100 ports across 43 countries. You will hit over 80 UNESCO World Heritage Sites across 101 destinations with 11 overnight stays. I start to worry about what I'm going to wear when there's just 3 destinations that we're going to stop at. I can't even imagine 101 destination stops. I'm telling you, that's a lot of cruising. And there are several other cruises, less days, 163 days, 149 days, smaller voyages. But I just thought it was very interesting to note that there are some cruisers out here who are getting ready to get on voyages that are almost a year long. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you could, maybe money wasn't the issue, maybe time wasn't the issue. Would you be interested in traveling on one of these really long world voyages? I think it would be exciting. I think it would be phenomenal. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please do drop it down in the comments below. Our last 2 stories take us over to Royal Caribbean. I'm going to talk to you about a terrible brawl, that's the word that was used, that happened at their private island, and a change to the alcoholic beverage package that most people are going to hate. But before I do, I'm taking this opportunity to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you as part of the Right Recipe for Travel family, and it costs you nothing. All you have to do is tap down on that subscribe button. And of course, if you like the videos, give us a like and tap down on the notification bell. That way, when we put out a new video, you're the first to know. And also, please do check out our Facebook page, our TikTok page. If you are interested in supporting the channel even more, we have our Patreon and our membership page. And I'd love to see you at my lives, usually done on Tuesday. Thank you so much. And if you're new here, welcome to the family. And if you're already family, I'm glad to see you again. Now let's get over to these last two cruise news stories. Royal Caribbean just tied up a loophole. There was a loophole in the drink package. So just in case anyone's newer here and you don't know what I'm talking about, when you go on cruises, alcoholic beverages are not part of it unless you pay for a specific package. And the packages are expensive. There's no way around it. They are expensive, starting at $55, $65, $75, $85 per person per day. And in these packages, well, they're all a little bit different. A lot of times it's not the most premium alcohols, but it's your alcoholic beverages. It could be specialty coffees. It could be pops or what most people call sodas. They're included in these packages. But the catch to this is every adult in the cabin, well, they have to get the package. So if you have someone who is a drinker and this would be a good value for them, and someone who isn't, too bad. If you're two adults in the cabin, you have to both purchase that. And $65 to $85 per day, it adds up really quick. It can cost more than your cruise. Well, people had figured out some ways to get around this because, like I said, it is expensive. One of the things that you could get was an exception, and there were exceptions for like medical reasons. I'm gonna pick one. Let's say a husband and wife come on a cruise together and the wife is maybe 6 or 7 months pregnant. She could show that she was pregnant and not able to, imbibe of that drink package. And so the husband then could get the drink package and she wouldn't have to pay. Well, Royal Caribbean says no more. Effective August 1st, the loopholes, the medical exceptions, they're gone. They said, we don't care what it is. If anybody wants that drink package, then everybody is taking that drink package. Of course, you can pay for it. You don't have to drink, but you still got to pay. So effective August 1st, if you are getting that drink package and you are an adult in a cabin, every other adult in that cabin must purchase the drink package. They're not looking at any exceptions. Royal Caribbean says this will let us know that the guests are using the drink package responsibly. What they're saying is no more getting over. Maybe there's some other kind of exception and only one person gets the drink package, but then they see that you're sharing it with others. The bottom line is they just want to keep their money. They're going to make their money. If you're going to be drinking their alcohol, they're going to charge you. No exceptions to this. Man, I don't ever get the drink package. I just find it's way, way too expensive for the little bit of consumption of alcohol that I do. In my case, it's just going to be much more cost effective to get that maybe one drink a day or one drink every other day. But many people really look forward to this, and it's a savings because this is the time that they can experience those drinks maybe that they would like to try, a different brand of alcohol, specialty coffees, their soft drinks. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Are you a person who gets the drink package? Do you ever get it? And how much is too much? Is $85 per day for the drink package? Is that like reasonable for what you get for the value? I would love to get some feedback. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And our last story, we're still sticking with Royal Caribbean, but we're heading over to the private islands. You guys know these private islands are big business, and they're just doing everything they can to make these islands appealing for everyone, kids, adults, having all kinds of activities and music and food. These private islands have really been something that you've heard a lot about lately. Well, on Royal Caribbean's private island of Coco Cay, there was a fight that broke out. And we're like, so what? We always hear about fights on cruise ships. But this wasn't just a fight. They actually called it a brawl. This was a fight with over 30 people in the pool area. Now, Thankfully, this was in the adults only area, so hopefully there weren't a lot of children around, or maybe none at all. But this took place in the Oasis Lagoon on Coco Cay on Sunday, August 3rd, while there were 2 ships there at the private island. Now, because of this brawl, fists being thrown and words being spewed, somebody got really bloodied up and they had to evacuate that pool. Everybody had to get out of this pool, and this pool is huge. It's like the big attraction over there with the bars and the music. This is where the action is. Because of this 30-person brawl and somebody getting beat so badly that they were bleeding, everyone had to get out of that pool. The 2 ships that were in port that day were the Utopia of the Seas and the Jewel of the Seas, and both of these were doing 3-day weekend cruises when this event happened. Thankfully, this happened like late afternoon, sometime after like 3 o'clock, so it didn't just ruin the entire day of anyone who wasn't fighting and wasn't part of this brawl and was just there to enjoy the pool. You know, it was opened again, but everyone had to get out. I don't know. I'm not even sure what to say about all of these fights that are taking place on cruise ships, and now I guess on cruise ship private islands, because, you know, what can you do? A cruise is a small city, and in cities there are people who fight. I'm not sure what to do, but I do believe that there should be some harsh penalties for people who are caught fighting, like kick them off the ship and don't let them back on. We don't want that on our cruise ships. We don't want that. People can get hurt, children can get hurt, and it just ruins the whole vibe. Well, that's my 2 cents. I'd like to know yours. What do you think about this? And what do you think we can do to help kind of mitigate this kind of thing? I'd love to know your thoughts. Drop it down in the comments below. Well, that's it for the cruise news today. I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you join me on some of my other adventures. Recently, we went to the Big Easy, New Orleans, and we have a playlist coming out. Please check it out. And we're on our way to the Carnival Jubilee. We're getting so excited. We're going to be there in just a few short weeks. So please do keep watching. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will catch you at the next adventure.